In today's podcast, we're going to talk with Bruce Harple, the VP of Delivery from ThreeWill, about the 10 benefits of an Office 365 digital workplace. After we talk about those 10 benefits, we're going to talk about a digital workplace briefing, which is a free offering from ThreeWill, where you can sort of take it from where you are today and discuss the next steps of maturity with regards to a digital workplace. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day. Hello and welcome to the Work Together Better podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan. I am here today with our VP of Delivery, Mr. Bruce Harple. How are you doing, Mr. Why I'm saying Mr. Bruce Harple, I have no idea.
I like the Mr. It makes me feel better. Makes me feel like I am somebody.
Captain Bruce Harple. How about that?
There you go.
Oh,
I like
Captain,
that.
my captain. So I'm here with Bruce. Bruce just does a bang-up job with our delivery organization, making things happen every single day that I'm amazed by. And I appreciate you taking some time to carve out of your schedule to meet up with me. Now, today we wanted to talk about something related to some of the business planning this year and one of the offerings that we have for folks, which is the digital workplace briefings. So let's get this whole thing kicked off with sort of what are you seeing? Tell me some about the planning, what was going on this year, and sort of what are you looking forward to with helping people for this year?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're trying to focus on this year is really just trying to understand from our customers kind of what are the key business problems, the challenges, the key drivers and the opportunities they're facing as they kind of look at this new world and this new world of a digital workplace and kind of moving to the cloud, right? Because a lot of this is all about getting from on-prem to the cloud. So we started to pull together kind of in support of the digital workplace briefing, but we started to pull together kind of what are the top 10 challenges, drivers, problems that customers are seeing, right? Because we wanted to kind of put ourselves in their shoes, to understand how can we help them, right? So, I thought we could start by kind of just maybe talking through, I'll call it the top 10. List.
I love a good list.
I know you love top 10. So
I love a good list. Okay, yeah, top 10 enumerated lists. I love them. So let's start off with do I need the Dave Letterman top number one?
Hey, we're going to start right at the top.
Number one.
Yes.
What is it?
So number one, and this is no new news, right? Number one's been around for a long time. Findability.
Findability,
right?
I know it's in there somewhere. And I think I'll recreate it 4 or 5 times.
Well, and so here's...
Because I can't find it anymore.
And so here's the scary part, right? So going from an on-prem kind of collaboration environment, right, to the cloud, the problem gets worse, right? Because maybe in the on-prem world, you might have been collaborating via SharePoint, right? And you had a single search engine behind SharePoint, right?
Yep.
Now you get into the cloud, right, in Office 365, and I've got... I got Yammer Search. Yeah. I got Team Search. I got SharePoint Search. But I got Bing Search.
But it's all brought together with Bing, though.
Oh, well, I know it's the
all
magic.
Brought to Bing.
That's right. It's just...
We've done some things. I think that there are some interesting things that Microsoft is doing with that. But okay, so number one's findability.
Number one
that's really important.
Findability. That's a big driver for people.
Number two,
and these aren't necessarily in order, but I just put infrastructure, right? So I think clearly, the value proposition for Office 365 and Azure, very high value prop from a cost perspective. And, people are just looking to move apps and solutions from on-prem, whether it's SharePoint or whether it's custom apps, whether it's custom web apps or, custom, client server apps, legacy type apps, getting them, to the cloud, right? Yeah. And the other part of that is scalability, right? I mean, for me to scale solutions on-prem, that's costly, right? But to scale in the cloud, to scale within Office 365 or to scale within Azure, man, it's a much easier and quicker and more efficient way to kind of scale your solutions, right, in your applications.
So that's a good bread and butter one. Number two.
It is.
What's number three?
And number three is I'll call it related to that. I call it unsupported technology and apps, right? Or it's the legacy apps, right? We know there's a lot of legacy apps out there. Even I mean, we all know there's still mainframe applications running, but I mean, even there are still VB apps, there are still access applications, even older technology that are all kind of client-based technology that are still, there's some critical, business critical apps that are still out there that just, they don't scale, right?
Yeah.
They're not really multi-user type applications. And, organizations want to figure out how do I get that, to the cloud, right? To where now I can scale that application more, and it becomes a multi-user kind of application versus kind of a single user or a client-based solution.
And we've done things where we've like inventoried all the apps that people have and try to decide, because there needs to be a cost justification for doing the move, and there's different reasons why you would move it over versus not move it over. So I think we've been fortunate to get a little maturity around that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's number? We're on 4.
Number 4, I
Yes.
just called it collaboration, right, which is pretty broad. But I think, in today's world, I mean, we all work in a virtual world, right? I mean, even we work with customers, we might be on a sprint review, or we might have a kickoff meeting, and, there might be 2 customers and us on site with the customer, and, 10 team members are all virtual, in many cases around the world. Right.
But this is you really you sitting beside me. This isn't like virtual
This is
Bruce.
us. We're not virtual. We're here.
Okay, good. So if I let me touch your arm, yeah, it's real, folks.
But the point is,
not virtual Bruce.
No. But the point is, in collaboration is it becomes much more important in that kind of disconnected virtual world, right? So for people to be able to collaborate together around a problem, around a customer, around a development of a product or whatever it might be, it becomes critical, right? And to be able to do that, quickly and efficiently, because, in today's world, time is of the essence, right? Time to market, time to collaborate, time to concept, time to envision it's just so critical, right? So collaboration is a key driver for people.
Absolutely. Number 5.
I called it single source of data, right? Which isn't necessarily a problem. We kind of moving to the cloud necessarily, or moving to, Office 365 or Azure, but, that's still a challenge for many of our customers today, right? There is, the best example is customer data, customer information, right? It lives in multiple places, right? So, which customer address is the right address, which, customer account is the right account, and can you bring that together, in a cloud-based environment where, I've consolidated all that data into a single source of the truth, so to speak. It's a bigger problem than that. But.
Yeah, well, I don't even deal with that much, like on the CRM side, don't even deal with that much information, but it's a problem for me.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yep. So number 6?
Number 6, I just called it mobility. And I kind of already touched on it, really. I mean, the fact that we're in this kind of virtual mobile world, right, where we're all working from the office sometimes, from home sometimes, from Starbucks sometimes, we're in the car sometimes. I mean, if you think about it, in today's world, you can really work anywhere, any place,
And are we nowadays, when you saying mobility or mobile, in the Office 365 world, we know they have their built-in apps, and then are we creating stuff that works with that, like with Teams, or what is when you say mobility? Is it creating responsive websites? Is it creating an app itself that's running like an iOS or Android app? What does that mean?
It's really, and what I'm really talking about is making sure that the critical pieces of your digital workplace that need to be mobile type components are truly mobile responsive, right? So that user experience, if you have a lot of people who are out there on tablets or on phones, and there's certain business functions they need to perform, right, on those mobile devices, you want it to be a good experience, right? You don't want productivity and efficiency to be impacted because I'm now on a notebook, or I'm now on a phone. And the reality is, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of field people, a lot of operational people, and there's a huge mobile workforce today. So it really has to do with making that user experience, effective, and not losing that as you go from a full web browser based, web-based, browser based, kind of view into smaller device. Right?
I'm amazed with how much stuff nowadays that we're doing through Teams as opposed to SharePoint web-based content. It's changed.
It has
and
changed.
and I would say it's changed for the better. And the things that I'm able to do with other people inside of ThreeWill, and I imagine everybody else is seeing that same thing. So parts of it will continue to need to be in SharePoint and have the responsive and all the good stuff along with that. But a lot of the team-based stuff just seems to be rolled over into Microsoft Teams. Number seven.
Yeah, number seven.
Yeah.
Seven. Yeah, number seven. I called it Excel collaboration. And you and I did a whole separate podcast on this. I think we call it the modernization of Excel. I mean, and I've talked about Excel. It's like the Swiss Army knife to most enterprises. There is so much business functionality built around Excel spreadsheets. It's phenomenal. And we've modernized a lot of that, right?
Yep.
And I think now with Office 365 and the move to the cloud, I think there's tremendous opportunity to really drive that modernization and move, from just an Excel-based application to a, multi-user, mobile responsive type application that, is going to be a much more effective way to, for people to collaborate.
Yep. Number 8.
I call it employee engagement, right? So, the world has become more social, as we know. Companies want their employees to engage, right, digitally, right? We're very much a digital workforce. We're all connected. We all have phones. We all have tablets, and getting employees to engage through these digital solutions is critical to organizations. They want that engagement. They want the employees to connect, through their digital workplace. So, we're hearing that, right? We're hearing that. We want the adoption by our employees. We want them to collaborate. We want to be able to provide a social kind of platform and interaction, right? That they're used to, having, outside of the office.
Yep, absolutely. If you build it, they will come. Not always.
Not always. Absolutely.
All right, 8.
8 is I just call it culture change, right? So we're seeing a lot of consolidation, a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the marketplace today. We see it all the time with our customers, and in many cases you're bringing two different cultures together, right? And they could have had two different platforms for collaboration, for knowledge management, for social interactions. And now they're bringing these two cultures together and they're picking a platform, right? And we're seeing that platform of choice in many cases is Office 365, right? So this drive to kind of bring cultures together, to continue to make sure you drive the employee engagement and provide a platform that, these combined and this integrated culture, will use and leverage to facilitate, kind of the integration of these cultures it's a key driver. We're seeing it a lot right now.
These are for like mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Number 9.
I call it just the Office 365 roadmap. And what I'm saying there is, what customers are seeing, we've maybe even talked in a previous podcast, there's this thing called the Office 365 periodic table. And it's a table of all the functions in Office 365, and there's 27, I think, in the most current periodic table. And the challenge is you can't just turn on 27 things, right? And just give it to your business users and say, here you go. Here's SharePoint, here's Delve, here's Stream, here's Sway, here's Flow. That's not going to work, right? Those are all just kind of architectural kind of pieces that kind of can be enablers of collaboration and communication, but by themselves, they're not things you can just flip over to your end users, right? So, the roadmap just says, how do I make sense of all this, right? And how do I go after it?
Yep.
In a way that my organization can consume and really gain value out of it. So cool. That's my top 10. That's a lot.
Well, when you solve that problem, man.
World Peace is next.
World Peace is next. So that was 10?
That was 10.
That was 10. All right.
That was 10.
So if some of these things resonated with somebody or somebody's ready to talk more about one of these things, what do we do with them?
Yeah, so what we do, as a way to kind of get started, and it's, we kind of call this your digital workplace journey, right? How do I really begin to consume all of these pieces in Office 365? And what we like to do is really to kind of flip the conversation, right? And we do that through this digital workplace briefing, right, which you mentioned at the start of the podcast. And we really want to flip the conversation to be more of a business conversation and less of a technology conversation, right? Because like I said, Office 365 and all the components of that, I mean, those are just architectural pieces that we can use, right, to solve a business problem, right? But, a lot of what we try to do in that digital workplace briefing, is really try to educate customers on this journey, because it really is a journey, right, to get from where you are today, to where you want to be. We really want to make sure that we focus on making sure that business objectives, right, are really kind of, those objectives are implemented through, kind of technology implementation, right? So it's really kind of flipping the conversation, right? And the workshop or the briefing really kind of, some of it's education, but some of it focuses on beginning to drive to understanding, business outcomes. What are you trying to accomplish, right, as an organization? What's important to you, right? But eventually what we want to try to do is, as part of the briefing, we talk about, driving people to assess their different maturity levels with different parts of a digital workplace.
Okay.
Right. So kind of the areas kind of within the digital workplace that we kind of drive people to, kind of understand, what's your current maturity level in these areas. And then not only that, but where do you want to get to? So a maturity level could be, anywhere from basic right all the way up to strategic, right? And the areas we look at, we look at people and profiles, right? We look at content management, the user experience. We look at information architecture, search, and taxonomy. We look at the social interactions, knowledge management, collaboration, employee recognition, security, compliance, governance.
So we cover all this stuff during a briefing?
We cover all that during a briefing. Ultimately, we're trying to get to the point where a customer and us, we can help a customer assess kind of where they're at today, right, and where they want to get to. We might not accomplish all that in the briefing, but we're going to put the framework in place, right? Because that's all part of the journey, right? It's really trying to understand, where am I today? What do I want to accomplish? But also tying that to, as a business, what am I trying to accomplish? What are my key business drivers? What are my key business pains? Because we're going to take all of that and then we begin to kind of put together kind of that vision. What is your digital workplace vision? And kind of how do I get there? Based on business priorities. So it is a journey, but the briefing really kind of provides the framework, I guess. Get some foundational thinking in place and begins to guide people down this journey of assessing the maturity level and where they want to get to. And we do it at no cost, right? So this digital workplace briefing is something that we do at no cost. And it really just kind of starts the conversation and gets customers to think differently, not think necessarily technology, not necessarily think the functional pieces of Office 365, but really thinking around, where do I want to get to? What's my end state? And how do I get to the end state? Kind of in an incremental way, so it's not the big bang. Right? How do I deliver value to my organization incrementally, right? And as part of that, I'm really solving problems. And I'm driving things like, employee engagement. I'm driving collaboration. I'm driving knowledge management. And I'm driving a lot, addressing a lot of those problems I was describing at the beginning.
So I want this questionnaire, and I want to put it on our. I would like to have like this. This is selfish for me, but I've worked with some of the other folks to try to get, because I love this idea of maturity levels and where people stand. And I think, and it's great that we go through this in the briefing, but there's also a component of this that, the first step of this is filling out where they are within this whole maturity level.
Yep.
And I need this questionnaire, and I've been trying to work with people. I mean, we're a small company, so I've been going, Pete, you guys, give this to me, because I want it, because I think it's important for people to know where they are. I love the idea of a briefing, and these are usually an hour or two?
About 2 hours, I think.
About 2 hours.
Roughly 2 hours.
It's free. It's just it's something where there's no obligation. People are just talking for us.
Yep.
But they've got it. What types of? I mean, what customer? I mean, obviously we want customers with big budgets to contact us. But no, what are the real, like, what's the value that we're getting out of it? What's the value that they're getting out of it? Why would somebody reach out to us to do this?
I think the value that a customer gets out of it. I mean, I think customers, struggle with, how do I get true business value out of Office 365? I mean, people look at it and go, man, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
It can do a lot.
Yep.
But it's really helping customers figure out, how do I best apply all these technology pieces that Microsoft has developed. I mean, Microsoft is a great product company. Mm-hmm. They're going to keep adding more and more functionality to it. But just because it's there doesn't mean it's good, and doesn't mean it's going to solve every business problem. Mm-hmm. So I think for customers, we can help them consume this monster called Office 365 and consume it in a way that they can deliver value to their organization. They can do it incrementally. You don't have to do it all at once. Mm-hmm. We can help build that roadmap. So for them, and again, we kind of view it as a journey. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out what's most important to me. What are my key, business drivers and problems I'm trying to solve, and let's figure out how we can take, this amazing technology and apply it in a way that you can get value out of it, and you can begin having an impact on your organization.
But I think with this, we're sort of talking about generic use cases at a high level. I think True. A lot of the business stuff, you could dive down into one particular area of the business and spend 8 hours on it.
Yes,
because that's the fact of the matter. So I think some of this is just inventorying what are the business cases that we have out there and sort of prioritizing them and saying which ones we want to go after. Because it's very easy. I want to solve your business problems. Well, that's great. I have a set of 40 of them, and if I went into any one of them with you, I would blow your mind. So it's just sort of the nature of that business is. And so I think for us, it's sort of, we often go at it from a generic use case collaboration. Here's the sort of what the organization will get out of this, because if you go into one of them, you're digging in deep with it. But I think for us, it's just sort of maybe starting to look at what are the initials, I understand you're trying to sort of say, what are the initial things we want to try to focus in on, and starting to put together a backlog of different business use cases we can go after, and sort of where do we go for initial steps. And I think that's a briefing is good. Then what do we do after the briefing? The workshop, we have a digital workplace workshop.
We do have a digital workplace workshop, and I think sometimes coming out of the briefing, as we talk to a customer, because a lot of times, as we've done briefings with customers, light bulbs begin to go off with customers, and we really, they begin to kind of say, man, I'm at a basic level, as it relates to knowledge management, right? And I want to get up to an advanced level. So I think out of the briefing, we can actually work with customers to begin to figure out what areas of this knowledge, this digital workplace are more important. And in some ways, we can structure the digital workshop to be, more targeted, because a digital workplace is gigantic, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be a lot of things to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do is help try to bring focus to that. So when you get to the workshop, we're not trying to solve all the problems an enterprise might have, right? Or the opportunities they actually have. It's like, let's try to figure out where can we focus. So it helps us kind of narrow down, where do we start, right? And then we can kind of tailor the journey, from there.
Awesome. All right, I'm trying to keep these below 30 minutes, so we're good. We're good, right? Any last minute things that you want to add to this?
No. Okay. Good conversation. Glad we had time to do another one of these.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a wonderful day. One last thing, actually, before I could jump off. If you're interested in this, the briefing, just go to the Contact Us page on the ThreeWill website. Just go in there and it's ask sort of what are you looking for, and just say the digital workplace briefing. That'll generate off an email to me. It'll get the things moving inside of ThreeWill for us to set one of these up for you. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.